Hello and welcome to Sweet Spot DFS. This is a review of the 2019 Open. Congratulations to Shane Lowry. That was a fantastic ending. That was pretty emotional. It was definitely a feel good. Couldn't be happier for Shane. I don't know him, but seeing his emotion to go along with the crowd, that was pretty fantastic. That's why, I mean, the Open. So this year we had the Masters with Tiger and his victory. That was pretty cool. That was really cool, actually. PGA Championship, Brooks dominated, and that was also cool, but it didn't have that emotional factor like Tiger winning. And then Gary winning, that was another emotional win. Like, we've had a good year of major winners, and it's unfortunate that I didn't play a lot of Shane Lowry. I did play him quite a bit. He was my pivot from Sergio, and I liked Sergio for reasons that I'll get into later on in the video. But watching Shane win, that was awesome. I mean, he dominated pretty much wire to wire. I'm kind of glad certain people aren't on the leaderboard. Like the guy who shot 16 over today. Did you hear about that guy? Do you know about him? That'd be JB Holmes. JB Holmes shot 16 over today. Good for you, man. I don't really have that much against him. It's just I don't care for the guy, and especially his Saturday round, how he was lumping around like a big baby. Just I don't care for it. All right, let's get into the spreadsheet. I have the recent form tab up right now, and I've already ordered it. We already have first all the way down. The little tick marks here, the little black tick marks. Those are what I consider the optimal lineup. And basically I have to do it manually. I don't have anything that can extract points from the DraftKings website. I could certainly keep track of birdies and bogeys and stuff like that and have points for all of them. I'm just not there yet. So this is an eyeball test. I do know that Tyrrell Hatton scored 75 points. I think Danny Willett had 86. Oh shoot, typically I put the points in here, my bad. So I have no idea what Robert McIntyre shot, but I know these guys down here didn't score more than any of the guys up here, so it leads me to believe that this is correct. This would be the optimal lineup. So your optimal lineup, for those that are just listening who can't see the graphic: Shane Lowry, Tommy Fleetwood, Tony Finau, Lee Westwood, Ricky Fowler, and Danny Willett. And when I scroll over here, I keep track of the salary for the optimal lineup, which was 49,600. I also keep track of the points, 568.5. Then whatever the most expensive tournament I'm playing in, or at least GPP, I'll keep track of the winning lineup and what their salary was and how many points they scored. So 50,000 on the button. This is I want to say last week's tournament also had a $50,000 spending price, I guess, for the winning lineup. I think that's how you would word that. So a lot of people say leave money on the table. This guy won $1 million, not leaving money on the table. So that is something to keep in mind. His winning lineup was 532.5 points. Compare that to the optimal lineup. He was 30 points behind it, so really close. But basically what I'm trying to get at is you certainly could have had the optimal lineup. You could have won. There was definitely room to maximize those points. Congratulations to the guy. I can't remember. I think it was like Back to 09 is the name, and it was spelt different. So that's the best I could say. Let's get into the DK page. Let's see, do I have to say anything? Oh yeah, he used Justin Harding down here in 41st place. So really anyone, 64 or less could have. He also could have not played Justin Thomas and went with, two other guys, somewhere up here. Needless to say, he still won $1 million, so good for him. DK page. Now I have the rules here. I wrote them down. And this is what I said in the preview. You wanted to play at least one golfer who had a last year bucket 1 score. You wanted to play at least 2 golfers that had a last week bucket 2 score, and play at least 1 golfer with a last week bucket 1 score. Okay. Let's go over that first one. Play at least 1 last year bucket 1. Here's our last week bucket column. There it is. Second place. I mean, you only had 2 inside the top 10. And ended up being Fleetwood and Finau, golfers that I was on. The stars mean I was on. The X's mean I was like, don't play. So obviously I got Lee Westwood wrong. But hey, you got to make stands at some point. And I'll get into why I didn't play him shortly. You wanted to play 2 golfers with the last week bucket 2 score. Now, these were golfers who played either in the Scottish Open or the John Deere Classic. And really, I didn't target many players that played in the John Deere Classic. I only targeted players that played in the Scottish Open. You had Tyrrell Hatton down here, who was not in the optimal lineup. And then there's no one else inside the top 10. But if we extend it one more, there was Justin Thomas. I was heavy on Justin Thomas. Can't remember how much I had. It was over 30%. If I were to go into my lineups page here, or my lineup construction spreadsheet, I certainly can find my ownership percentage. I didn't include it on the other spreadsheet yet. I will, but I did not think of doing it for the video. All right, so Justin Thomas, 29.07%. I think my highest here was Tony Finau. I really like Tony Finau. 52% is how much I played him. I didn't play a lot of Rory, 8.1. Didn't play much Brooks. Kind of wish I had. The guy at the top that I played the most was Justin Rose. And I mean, going into Sunday's round, he was 3rd place, or a tie for 3rd at least. And then he shot 6 over on Sunday. The weather was bad for everybody, but he obviously did not handle it the best. Really kind of wish I would have pivoted Tommy Fleetwood. Didn't play him in a lot. But you can see I played a lot of mixed. You know, a lot of these are just fear of missing out plays. All the ones that you see single digits and less. Tommy Fleetwood admittedly was one of those golfers that I was like, you know what? After I made my lineups, I didn't have a lot of them in. And I'm like, oh man, I need to play more of them. Yeah, Adam Scott. I'm there with a lot of you guys. I had heard the hype, and I really wanted to play him, regardless of the hype. That was pretty atrocious. Shooting 7 over par after the first round, pretty bad, and then could not get anything going that second round. Not like Rory. Rory almost got it back. But anyways, I don't want to go through all the ownership percentage. You can obviously see how much I've played of each guy. You can obviously pause the video and go look at it. But yes, Justin Thomas, that's what I'd want. So in the top 10, we didn't have the 2 golfers that had the last week bucket 2 score. I don't think Justin Thomas ever hurt you. I think he scored 75 points, or 72.5, which was 3 points behind Tyrrell Hatton. Like, you know, I think Willett had 84, Fowler had 82.5, something like that. Well, we can go look. Oh, never mind. Anyways, okay, so the last week bucket 2 thing didn't really pan out. We were really close. This would be the first year that a last week bucket 2 did not finish inside the top 10, just finished inside the top 11. And then the other rule I have here is play at least 1 last week 1. Well, I mean, you've got a bunch of them right there. So then we get into the other pieces here, which is going to require me to hide some of this information. We'll get back to it. I just want to hide it for just the rules here. So I found an interesting corollary piece that I added in the preview video, where for whatever reason the Masters finish had some kind of corollary with success here at the Open. And I'm not really making a 1-for-1 correlation. It just happened to appear several times, and it appeared again. I had said play at least 3 golfers who finished inside the top 20 at the Masters, play at least 1 golfer who missed the cut at the Masters, and then play 1 golfer who was within the 20 to 40 range at the Masters. So there you go. I mean, right away, the top 6 golfers, well, I mean, Rickie's tied for 6, follow that whole bucket, that whole rule. And honestly, if you also would have followed the rules above, you know, play 1 last year bucket 1. If you went through the preview video, I would have shown that you would want to play 1 last year bucket 3, I think. I'd have to go back to the notes page and double check that, which I will shortly. But yeah, and you could err on more golfers finishing inside the top 20 at the Masters. The thing is, most of those golfers were high salaried golfers, so it would have been difficult to pair them all up in the same lineup. But again, like this correlation, for whatever reason, is probably the strongest. If I were to go to salary, this is what, when I was looking at this, come down here to where Shane Lowry is. So he had a missed cut. I don't know why my eyes drifted. I mean, Sergio hadn't been playing well, but that's the thing with the bucket system. You don't really target golfers who've been playing well or who haven't been playing well. Really, all that matters is either last year's result or last week's result, and then you go down the list of what your tiebreakers are. Well, Sergio playing at an Open, I just liked the possibility. Plus, he fit that 85. Like, if we look at all the golfers with the Masters finishing position and we come down here to the missed cuts, you didn't have a lot. And when you look at the names, there weren't many that you really wanted to play. Now, both Shane and Danny Willett, they were part of the optimal lineup. There were 2 missed cuts. I said you needed to play at least 1 missed cut, meaning you could have played more. But I put more of my stock in Justin Rose than any of the other golfers. But then if I did pair him up with anybody, it would have been Sergio. So it wasn't, I mean, the missed cut for the Masters wasn't something that I was really, you know, all in on. I mean, I did try to find one. When I created these lineups, I literally looked at everything. I looked, okay, so were they a last year bucket 1? No. Okay, they're last year bucket 2. What was their Masters finishing position? And that's how I selected a lot of my players. And in reality, it wouldn't have hurt me, you know, going strictly just by Masters results. You know, let's find 2 golfers that finish inside the top 20. Now, you couldn't fit Brooks on the optimal lineup, so you can just take him out. You would have 1, 2, and then you would have only been able to get down here to the 11th place in order to make it all work out. Or, in all honesty, you could have not played Fowler and went with something like this. Nope, you couldn't have done that. Yeah, that's way over. Yeah, I guess you couldn't have played Brooks, so I'll take that back. Which is kind of, I mean, it isn't odd. Let's see, you would want to play him and him. That leaves us with 21,000 left, so it'd been 7,000 and less. 74. I'm really not seeing it. You would never have gone this route. You would never have gone this route. Okay, whatever. You couldn't have played Brooks. Regardless, I mean, if you wanted the optimal lineup, you couldn't have played him. If you did play Brooks, you couldn't have played Tommy Fleetwood or Ricky Fowler, which you didn't need Ricky Fowler, but you did need Tommy Fleetwood. Okay. Sorry for taking you on that. That was kind of, you know, either near or there. So with all the rules set in place, it definitely allowed you to get on some of these golfers. Again, we can get rid of Brooks. Here was your optimal lineup right here. So we had 2 guys who missed the cut. 1 guy finished inside that 20 to 40 range. 1 guy who didn't play the Masters, and I forgot what I just said. 2 missed cuts, 2 top 20s, 1 20 to 40. There's 5, and then your 6th guy was someone who just didn't play the Masters. Let's get on to that Lee Westwood. So I didn't play him because the 6'5 scared me. But if we go back to the notes page, I'll show you why I didn't want to play him. But, you know, we come here to this little combination piece of 2018 through 2014, and we look at all the different combinations. We go to all the sixes. There was a 6'2 and a 6'4. You didn't see sixes very, very often. But, you know, when they did show up, there was no consistency to it. So it's not like you could only play 6'1s. There's a 6'2 and a 6'4. Lee Westwood, I like the guy. I've always been a fan of Lee Westwood, but that in itself doesn't require me to play him. And I know he's been pretty streaky this year. I've kind of followed him in the beginning of the year. I can't remember if he qualified for the U.S. Open, but there was a tournament where I thought about playing him, and his recent form looked good at that time. But, you know, when you look at all this you really couldn't see anything that popped out and said, hey, play Lee Westwood. He would have just been a sprinkle play, honestly. You wouldn't have been all in on him. And in all honesty, you didn't have to play Lee Westwood to win money. Can't remember how many points Lee Westwood scored. 92.5. So that was actually a significant amount of points that he scored. I'm just looking at the DK page on the Millie Maker. So, you know, of his price, so he's at 7,400. Ty Hatton scored 75 points. So you would have, let's say we replaced him, you still would have won $1 million if you would have followed that same lineup. And you substituted him out for Ty Hatton. Those 17 points minus from here, so 549 still would have beat 532. Now, it's not the optimal lineup. That's what I'm always after, so we can, set it to rest. But you could have played Willett over Westwood. But Westwood still being the optimal lineup, I didn't see it. I just want to let you guys know why I didn't look at Westwood. And I really don't think there's any correlation you could have found with Westwood other than possibly it's an open. Maybe he's played the course before. I had no course history, at least not in tournaments. Well, I shouldn't say at least. I just didn't have any, period. But, looking at this, one other piece that I wanted to note, all these twos, that won't show up when I add the 2019 because the other twos were in 11th place. One other piece I wanted to add is a buddy of mine noticed another corollary. It's either there was a 2-1 or a 1-2, but there was never either. So if we go through and you look at all the 2-1s, there was a 1-2 and no 2-1 there. A 2-1 and no 1-2. So him and I both kind of came up with a strategy of picking players that were in that 1-2, 2-1 range. And again, all we have is 2-1s, no 1-2. Now, I get I would understand the criticism that comes with that, but if you were like, well, what's the significance of that? If I were to select all 1s here and then all 1s and 2s here, and we look at the list isn't very large. And I can't get rid of the 1-1s right now. But if we were just to take a look at the 2-1s, Brooks, Danny Willett, Patrick Reed, come back down here to Louis Oosthuizen. But here you go with your 1-2s. Eric Van Rooyen, Matt Kuchar was the big one. That's the guy I wanted to point out. A lot of people are on Matt Kuchar. However, if you came up with a game plan, let's say you made 10 lineups, and you wanted to play Kuchar in half of them, you wouldn't have wanted to pair him up with any of the 2-1s. Now, I get it. Kuchar finished 41st. That means he's still got you points. And you could have paired him up with any of these guys up here. Sure, you could have. But the optimal lineup didn't ask for it. You couldn't have gotten it through the optimal lineup. You couldn't even got it through a top 10 finish if you wanted all your guys in the top 10. Or nearby. Let's say top 11. Just to help out my stats. So looking at something like that, like I said, my buddy pointed out to me, that was another thing that I added to my lineups. Unfortunately, I was so close in a lot of my contest. Super close. The most points I scored was 427.5. But if I were to say, I would say 75% of my lineups had a score over 360, I think. Which isn't bad. It would have cashed in a lot of, like, if we were to look at the quarter arcade, I'm going to go look at it right now. If we were looking at like the quarter arcade or even the $4, I'll go look at the $4. I'm sure a lot of you guys probably spend a lot of money. So I cashed with a team that scored 354.5 in the $4. So again, like I said, 360 was my lowest in at least 70% of my lineups. I did really well, but I play in a lot of winner take all events. I understand that's not very good on your investment, but it I like the chase, to be honest. Either way, my lineups did well. I didn't win a lot of money. I basically recouped all of my money that I put into it. It's just unfortunate, but that's neither near or there. That was kind of a tangent we didn't need to go down. I just wanted to show you the 2-1s and 1-2s. I thought that was a great catch by one of my friends, and it was fun creating lineups based around that. You know, I wouldn't have been on anyone like Brooks, but to get on someone like Danny Willett, that'd have been nice. I know him and I talked about it during our Wednesday chat. I think we even talked about Patrick Reed, but you know, none of these golfers I'm huge fans of, so you know that kind of plays a factor in lineup construction, which it shouldn't. If you want to win money, you should try to keep your bias at the door. But yeah, you know, again, the process, it was nice. I don't regret playing Justin Thomas. I thought he was really close, and he would have been that 2 that would have propelled me, at least, you know. He was the only person out of all the rules that didn't, it just, not him personally, but the only rule that didn't quite follow was that 2 golfers that were the last week bucket 2. Other than that, like, it was spot on. Excuse me. So yeah, I think with that, I'm going to end the video. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope that you guys do well in the next tournament, and now that this is kind of an early finish, we can get on to the WGC next week, where it's played at a golf course that we've played at before. All right, guys, have a good one. Hope you guys did well, and we'll see you on the next video.